What's up guys, Andrew Baina here. We are doing another FAQ. Like I said in the last one, I took quite a long break from doing FAQs. I was trying to do the whole weekly FAQ thing and that just was not working out for me. So now I'm doing them a little less frequently. I think I'm going to be doing them once per month. So with that being said, I did one in September and now it's time for October's. So before we get started on the questions, there are a few things I wanted to mention first and foremost. Firstly, as always, a big thank you to all my Patreon subscribers whose names are on the screen at this point in time. Secondly, my band Carcosa currently has a merch run which will be ending on October 21st. So there's only a couple of days left in that. So if you're interested in getting Carcosa merch, like the stuff that's displayed on the screen right about now, you can go get that. That's going to be linked in the description and in the pinned comment. We also have this beautiful, beautiful hot sauce. I don't think that camera's going to pick it up. Let's see if that one does it. Yeah, there we go. So we've got Vanta Black sauce. This is pretty cool. This is actually the best seller so far. In addition to that, we have the other things as shown on the screen. Also, speaking of Carcosa, while we're on the topic, this isn't a signature pedal for us, but I had to buy this. Come on, look at that shit. It's a fuzz pedal, and I've never used a fuzz pedal in my life before, but we gotta find a way to use this somewhere in a song, right? I had to buy it. And the last thing I wanted to talk about before we move on to the questions is, I know in the last FAQ, we talked a little bit about the upcoming Doom Eternal DLC, which is coming out on October 20th, which is this coming Tuesday. So I think when I made the last video, I didn't know who was making the music for the new Doom stuff. And it turns out that it's actually a guy named Andrew. Fucking shout out to all the Andrews in the world. And he also actually posted a teaser of the new Doom Eternal Ancient Gods music, and it sounds pretty fucking awesome, and you can bet I will definitely be covering the new Doom music. I also have another pretty cool thing coming out for any of you Doom soundtrack fans. So basically I've been working with my friend and the other guitarist in Carcosa, Cooper Legace, and I basically hired him to reproduce all of the electronic elements of the Doom covers so that they can go on Spotify and Apple Music. So yes, my Doom covers will finally come to streaming services. I think this is going to be pretty cool. Also, the actual original soundtrack does not even exist on social or on streaming platforms. So I think mine are going to be the only ones on there, which is pretty cool. So the artwork looked like this, and that'll be coming out on October 20th, which is the same day the new DLC comes out. The first song that's going to be up is BFG 10K. I've also rearranged my covers to make them accurate to the actual soundtrack versions, because originally when I made these covers, I was doing them to game rips and they were kind of all over the place. So these are the official soundtrack versions, but fully reproduced, so there's no sampling going on of the original songs. We did it all from scratch. All right, so that was a lot of stuff to get through. Let's move on to the first question. So the first question comes from Midnight on Discord, and he says, have you ever owned a block letter 5150, or would you eventually pick one up? So first and foremost, before we move on, I definitely want to say rest in peace to Eddie Van Halen. In case you're not aware, Eddie Van Halen is responsible for making the 5150, which is one of my favorite amps to simulate of all time. I wasn't too much into Van Halen's music personally. I know I saw a lot of people asking me to do a guitar riff evolution or a tuned down video of Van Halen, but I decided not to do that because I felt that it would be kind of disingenuous because I didn't really know anything about his music beforehand. So I felt that if I did a video like that, I would feel kind of shitty, like I was capitalizing on his death or something, and that's definitely not what I want to do. However, with that being said, I can certainly appreciate obviously the legacy and the amount of things that he has done for the metal and guitar community. I don't want to minimize that by any means. But with all that being said, the thing that I probably used the most from Eddie Van Halen is the 5150. I've never actually owned the 5150 block letter amp, as Midnight was saying, but I have owned the 5153, which is the newer version of that. I had the 50 watt one, but I only actually had it for about a week, and then I ended up selling it just because I thought it was more convenient at the time to use digital amp modelers. It obviously sounded amazing, and ironically, I usually model a 5150 on a modeler anyways, so obviously I liked how it sounded, but it was a little easier to just carry around a Line 6 Helix than it was to carry around an amp head, a cab, and a full pedal board setup, so I just ended up going back to that. Okay, next question comes from Facebook from Nick Thompson. He says, how do I talk to girls? Well, I'm sorry, I have no idea. I've been dating and engaged to Serena for a really long time, and I have not had to talk to any other girls, so I feel like if I had to do that right now, I would fail miserably. So I don't know. But your actual question was, real shit though, will Carcosa tour live after the pandemic? I'd spend a good chunk of change to see y'all fuck shit up. Yeah, I mean, obviously we would love to tour at some point in time. It hasn't necessarily been decided or discussed like to what extent we would want to tour. So the thing for me is YouTube is my full-time thing, and if I'm on the road with Carcosa, I won't be able to do YouTube really. I've seen a bunch of other musicians who are YouTubers and in touring bands try and do both, and it kind of never really works out. Not to mention all the other guys in the band obviously have jobs and stuff like that, so like I don't think we would ever be like touring full-time. And obviously just life stuff in addition to that, like being away from family and Serena and stuff like that for like half of a year at a time. I'm personally not into that idea, but I would love to do like 1 or 2 tours a year or something like that. That would be cool. Obviously right now I have absolutely no fucking idea when that's going to be a possibility again, but I would love to make it happen, especially to tour the States and maybe like the UK or something like that. The only tour I've ever done was cross Canada in 2014 with Black Tongue. So I would fucking love to go to the UK and tour with Black Tongue again, except in their country, because that would be sick. And obviously most of our fans are based in the United States, and that's like a huge market that would be pretty awesome to play and meet all the fans over there. Next up comes from Discord, Gentleman Gold Bar. Ever planning on making a mod project with a cheap as the F guitar? I know there are many of them, but I want to see one that's a little bit more genty. So I can't really talk about this too much, but I might have a sponsored video opportunity coming up that is exactly this, or close to this. But I don't want to give away too much just in case it doesn't happen, or it doesn't end up being quite what I think it's going to be. But keep your eyes peeled. We might have something like this coming soon. Next it comes from William Smalley on Facebook. He says, when you guys play live, do you guys use in-ears, play to a click track, or something similar? So he's referring to when Carcosa or Galactic Pegasus played live. So the way that we do it is incredibly risky. So we're a 4-piece band, we don't have a bassist, and we have a lot of backing tracks. So due to that, we definitely use a click track live. However, we like to live on the edge apparently, and we only give the click track to our drummer. So it's really weird because what Travis is actually listening to is he has, you know, headphones on or in-ear monitors or whatever. And in one ear he has the original version of the song, and in the other ear he has a metronome. So he actually has no idea what the fuck we're playing live because he's just listening to the studio versions of the song. And basically the rest of the 3 of us just rely on him doing it right, because if he goes off time, we're all fucked. So it's very risky and definitely not ideal. With that being said, I would love to do a more professional setup with Carcosa in the future, and that starts with Empire Ears. Shout out to Empire Ears. They hooked me up with custom in-ear monitors about a month or 2 ago. I obviously haven't had the opportunity to use them yet, because I need like the whole wireless adapters and stuff like that. But I do have the first step, which is in-ear monitors. So let's see if we can get these in focus here. You can kind of see, yeah, look at that. Custom purple and green, see-through. Might have a little bit of earwax on them. But yeah, these are awesome in-ear monitors. Again, a huge thank you to Empire Ears for sending these my way. If you guys are interested in in-ear monitors, definitely go check them out. Would highly recommend. Okay, next question comes from K-Mac. I know you're not the real K-Mac, but I'm gonna pretend you are, on Discord, and he asks, favorite anime / manga? Well, my favorite anime is obviously Full Metal Alchemist. I kind of talked about this in the last FAQ I did about my tattoos, but obviously most of my tattoos are all based off of Full Metal Alchemist, so clearly that's my favorite anime. Also, the one of the songs on my solo EP called The Gate was also basically entirely based off of this anime, so I don't know, Full Metal Alchemist, something about that just really spoke to me. Okay, this next question is super, super interesting, and it's honestly an insane story, so I really want to talk about it. First and foremost, shout out to Damien. His question came from Facebook. He is also one of the runners of a festival in Alberta called Loud as Hell that I was fortunate enough to play with Galactic Pegasus. That's important to set this question up so you guys understand what I'm about to talk about. But he says, how much did playing Loud as Hell with Galactic Pegasus when you had to play as a 4-piece for the first year you guys played when your frontman had an emergency, did that show have an impact on your decision to continue as a 4-piece? So what he is referring to is the first time Galactic Pegasus played this festival, we actually ended up having to play the show as a 4-piece. So this was back when we had a different vocalist and Johnny was playing bass. So this was the first time Galactic Pegasus ever played live with no bass and with Johnny on vocals. Needless to say, I mean, not needless to say, but yes, it definitely had a massive, massive impact. But I wanted to share some of the story with you guys because it's honestly, in hindsight, fucking insane that we did this. So basically, our vocalist at the time had like a looming emergency on the horizon, let's say, where the other 4 of us in the band were pretty sure that he was not going to be able to play the festival, but he was insistent that he was going to. So he kept telling us not to worry about it, but we were like pretty sure he wasn't going to be there. So in the background, we kind of had already made a backing track for the live show that had bass guitar in it because we had planned like, okay, if our vocalist doesn't show up, what are we gonna do? So what we decided to do was make an alternate version of the set list with the bass backtrack so that Johnny and myself could do vocals live. And sure enough, literally the night before we left to go to this festival, for context, the place the festival is at is like a 12-hour drive from here. So I think we got the text at like 3 in the morning the day we were leaving for that show. Sure enough, our vocalist can't make it. So we were like, holy shit, thank God we prepared this set list. However, we prepared this set list like 2 days before this, so obviously we had no idea what the fuck the lyrics were. So then Johnny and I drove in one car, and Cooper and Travis drove in a different car, and Johnny and I just listened to our own music like the whole way there and learned the lyrics on the drive to the festival. And then when we got there, we basically had to announce to the whole audience, hey, thanks for watching, just so you know, this is what's happening. So the set's gonna be a little bit weird. Hopefully you guys still like it. And then when we played, basically any songs that were written like previous to 2015 or something, I did vocals on, and I gave my guitar to Johnny. And then any songs that were written after 2015, Johnny did vocals on and I played guitar. So we were like passing the mic and the guitar back and forth between each other. And holy fuck, man, it was like one of the most stressful shows of our entire lives. However, that was incredibly, incredibly pivotal moment for us as a band because that was the first time we had ever played it as a 4-piece and also the first time that Johnny had been on vocals. And clearly that was, you know, super impactful to us because here we are today. Now we're in Carcosa, of course, but Johnny's on vocals, we got our bass backtracked, and everything else is basically the same as what had started at that festival. So if you're one of the few people that saw the festival show that also watched my channel, that was a pretty big moment for us. I don't know if you realized it at the time, but holy shit. Okay, next question comes from Sierra Dickey on Discord. What's Canada's views on LGBTQ and what are your own views on it? So thankfully in Canada, it seems like most people are pretty accepting and open of the LGBTQ community, at least especially where I live in British Columbia, especially in Vancouver, which is, you know, our main city. Yeah, luckily everyone around here is pretty open and accepting of it. Obviously, as with anywhere in the world, unfortunately, there are some people who don't agree with it, which I guess that's your own choice. I personally have no problem with LGBTQ. I think that nobody should have the right to tell anybody else what to do with their body or how to feel. So however you feel or identify, I have absolutely zero problem with, and I think that you should just do whatever makes you happy. That's really as simple as my views on this topic are, and I don't really have too much more to say. Okay, next question comes from Discord again from ya boy Eric. He says, what's the plan on your music career after Carcosa, if any? So this is kind of an interesting question. The reason I picked this is for a couple of reasons. Number one is Carcosa is not even a year old, so I definitely have not thought of what's after Carcosa because like we're still very, very, very new. However, I also wanted to address this because Carcosa isn't necessarily part of my career, if you will. I know that sounds kind of weird, but for me, my music career is really focused on my YouTube channel and all the things that go with me as a solo producer or solo artist, if you will. I don't really factor Carcosa into that at all. The reason being is because I want to be self-sufficient for myself, and I don't want to necessarily rely on my band, which is of course a 4-piece, and we have to split things 4 ways and so on and so forth. So for context so far, like, don't get me wrong, Carcosa is actually doing fucking way better than I thought we were going to, and I'm incredibly happy and grateful for that, but we're still not paying ourselves anything. So anything that's earned in Carcosa at this point in time is just reinvested back into Carcosa. So if we make like $4,000 in sales of merch, that $4,000 is basically instantly gone because we're paying for like the next music video, the production, any artwork, blah 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 blah. So like anytime we make money, we spend however much we have on the next thing. So that's why I don't really factor Carcosa into like my big picture music career, if that makes any sense. Obviously at some point in time, if Carcosa gets big enough that we are able to pay ourselves out, like cover our costs and then also have an excess of money, that would be fantastic. But that isn't the current state of Carcosa, so I'm not too worried about that. So I guess to answer your question regarding like what's after Carcosa is I really don't know because we're brand new, and also again because really I'm just making sure that my own solo stuff in YouTube is the center of my music career. Speaking of Carcosa, another question from Ryan Arnold on Facebook. When will the next Carcosa album be? I don't think there is going to be a next Carcosa album for a very long time. We personally don't really want to do a full-length album, like zero plans to do a full-length album. I'll confidently put that out there right now. What we would like to do is we would like to go more of a route as how Spiritbox is doing things. Big shout out to Spiritbox. They have influenced and inspired a lot of the decisions we've been making as Carcosa, which have been working out pretty well so far. So what we want to do is we did the EP as our first thing because obviously we wanted to give people like a bigger sampling of what we can do. But from here on out, we're probably just going to do singles. And then after we do a few singles, then maybe another EP. But like, I don't know if we'll ever do a full length album. Honestly, I just don't really see the point. Maybe if we're huge and famous and it's like we have all the time and money in the world to make a full length happen, then maybe. But at this point in time, really singles and EPs are the only thing that we're looking at. With all that being said though, there should be some new Carcosa like sooner than you think. Next question comes from Mishap Mansour on Discord. Will there be another game on the gaming channel? Brackets, string gauges. String gauges, no, never gonna tell you. As for the gaming channel, so what he's referring to is I had a gaming channel that I used briefly called Ultimate Gaming News, which was basically like a gaming news site or news channel, I guess you could call it. And I did that for a couple of months, but I ended up kind of scrapping it. I haven't done a video on that channel in almost a year now, so I do not think it's coming back anytime soon. It was kind of fun, but I made it at a time when honestly my YouTube channel was not doing as well as I thought it was going to do. And of course, since I quit my job to do YouTube full time, I was panicking a little bit and I thought I wasn't going to make enough money off of my channel. So that's like one of the big motivating factors of why I started that channel. But then luckily my channel started to pick up and I didn't really need it anymore. And in addition to that, guitar used to be my hobby and now it's my career. And my only other hobby is like video games. So I don't really think I want to make both of my hobbies into careers necessarily. I kind of like playing video games just to play video games. I don't really like playing video games as a business because I already did that with guitar. And now when I play guitar, I pretty much only play guitar when I make YouTube videos. and that's it. Like, I don't really play guitar like for fun anymore, if you will. That's not to say I don't have fun when I play it, but like if I'm not recording or making a video, chances of me playing guitar are like very, very slim. Like usually all weekend, if I'm not making a video, I probably won't touch any of my guitars, which probably sounds crazy to some of you, but that's the way it is. So I just don't really want that to happen to video games, because now video games is like my thing I do when I'm not working. You know what I mean? You get what I mean. That's enough explaining. Speaking of, next question comes from Doug Scott on Facebook. Is doing YouTube full-time working out for you monetarily? Not asking to see your bank statements, but also wouldn't say no if you offered. So yeah, I'm obviously not going to show you my bank statements, but yeah, YouTube full-time is working out pretty well now. It was definitely pretty rocky in the beginning, but I expected that, right? Obviously it's like starting a new business. Like there's obviously going to be growing pains. So it was more scary last year, whereas honestly, like this year has pretty much exceeded all of my expectations. My goal for this year financially was to make as much money as I was making at my full-time job before I quit, and I'm happy to say that that is the case now. And with all that being said, that is the final question of the day. Thank you guys so much for all your questions. These are always fun to do. I know that these videos don't get a ton of views, but I don't know, I think it's kind of cool to talk with you guys, get to know what you guys want to actually know, because most of the time I'm just kind of guessing and making videos and hoping that they work. So with these, it's nice to kind of get to know my audience a little better, I guess you could say. So if you guys want to have your questions featured on the next FAQ video, go and join my Discord server. It's linked in the description below. That is where I pick most of my questions from. And this time around, I also picked a bunch from my Facebook page. So that's also going to be linked in the description, pinned comment, all that good stuff. Again, keep an eye out. October 20th, new Doom video, and shortly after, more new Doom videos. We're milking Doom Eternal dry for all it's worth this month, baby. Let's go. All right, that's all I gotta say. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you next time.